I, female 37, have been married to my husband Aaron for 3 years. He has a teen son, Thomas, who tends to be so stubborn and moody sometimes. I'm a stay-at-home mom with a 6-month-old daughter, and because my husband travels a lot for work, I handle everything around the house. A few days ago, Thomas asked if he could host a party at our house and invite 16-plus friends. I discussed this with his dad, and we said no, because we have a newborn in the house and having 16-plus people all at once wasn't safe. Thomas threw a tantrum and kept insisting, saying he had already sent out invitations. I told him it was his fault for doing that before consulting us. He stayed upset and stopped eating for 2 days. Then yesterday morning, I noticed my daughter's formula was missing. I looked everywhere, but once I entered the bathroom, there were traces of it on the floor. I was dumbfounded. I asked Thomas what had happened, and he, and with a straight face, said that he flushed it all down the toilet to get back at me, and only me for banning him from having the party. I said that wasn't true, and showed him the chat his dad and I had. Still, he insisted that I influenced his dad to say no, and that is when I lost my temper. I told him he should have never touched anything related to his sister, and that her food, comfort, and health is where the line is drawn. He tried to argue that he wasn't looking to hurt her, but hurt me through her. Finally, I told him I had enough of his irresponsible attitude and told him to pack up and get ready to go to his mom's. He didn't want to go, despite saying that he'd rather be with his mom because she lets him do whatever he wants, as long as he's not getting in trouble. I drove him there and his mom told me off for asking her to punish him for what he did, saying I'm not his parent and also can't tell her what to do. I said fine then, and told Thomas to wait until his dad got home to punish him. But he and his mom begged that I don't tell my husband. She'll pay for a replacement for the formula. After all, it's just formula, and her son was feeling frustrated. But it's not about the formula itself, more than it is about the fact that he should be held responsible for what he did. So I left, and she kept harassing me on social media, claiming I was trying to turn my husband against his son. Am I the idiot here? You are not the idiot. He's learned how to play his parents against one another. And it's utter nonsense that his mom says you can't discipline him because you're not his parent. You should sit your husband down the minute he returns and straighten this out with him. If you don't have the authority to discipline him, then Thomas doesn't come to your house while your husband is traveling. It would be best if you also told him everything. Thomas and his mother need to learn that actions have consequences, and he can't use the excuse that his parents are divorced to whitewash his bad behavior. Both Mom and Thomas begging OP not to tell Dad makes me think Mom realizes Thomas isn't going to be staying with stepmom when Dad is gone, which means Mom won't be able to play her power trip games and will also not get her time off from Thomas. I get it. Teens can be challenging, but he is way too old to pull the stunt he just pulled. Seriously, tell her you're going to slice her tires open and be like, well, you can't fight back in any way since you're not my parent, right? Anyone can do anything to anyone else, and as long as no one is the other person's parents, there won't be consequences. See how stupid that sounds? I don't know how he still thinks throwing destructive tantrums like that will get him anywhere but trouble at his age. Refusing to eat too? It kind of sounds like he may also need to see a therapist. You have to tell his father, now. Please don't wait until he comes home. You need to protect your daughter at all costs. By flushing the formula, he is so far over the line. He cannot be in your home or around your daughter unsupervised. You're the target of his rage, and therefore you cannot supervise him. He stays with his mother until your husband comes home, and honestly, he should continue to stay with her for the foreseeable future. These are the consequences of his actions, that his relationship with his father will now take place externally to your daughter's home. My 30 female, fiance 29 male, and I got engaged and are planning our wedding for next spring. We've been together for about 3 years, but there is one weird thing about our relationship. My ex is my fiance's best friend. My ex and I were together for 4 years, and I met my current fiance through that relationship. We broke up because my ex got a new job offer across the country, and I was not in a place in my life where moving was a possibility. So he left, I stayed, and we broke up. I was heartbroken and bitter that he would leave me like that, and I pretty much blocked him, but I eventually got over it. Over the next year or so after the breakup, my current fiance and I would hang out from time to time, and eventually we started dating. When we were making our relationship official, my fiance called my ex to let him know. My ex thought it was a little weird that the two of us were together and that it would take him some time to get used to, but told my fiance that as long as we were happy, what he thought about our relationship doesn't matter, and he's happy for us. So now that we are engaged and planning our wedding, my fiance wants my ex to be his best man. My fiance doesn't have any brothers, and my ex is by far his closest and best friend. But I pretty much told him that he couldn't be the best man. I told him it would be too weird that the two men with who I've had the most meaningful relationships would be standing up at the altar with me on my wedding day. I told him all my friends and family knew about my ex and our relationship, and it would just be too weird for him to be such a big part of our wedding. My fiance is very upset about this and isn't willing to compromise on it. He says my ex has always supported him in our relationship, and he can't imagine anyone else standing by his side on his wedding day. He said the only way he would consider not having him as the best man is if we had no wedding party. But I don't want to do that because I have two sisters who I want to be by my side. We've put the argument aside for now, but whenever we try to plan something else about the wedding, my fiance brings it up, and we end up fighting about it. He thinks I'm being unreasonable and controlling, and that he would never tell me what to do in a situation like this. He says he isn't forcing me to pick his sisters as bridesmaids, and that I'm being an idiot for not allowing him to pick the people he wants by his side. I don't know what to do. I can't imagine how awkward my wedding would be if I'm trying to look at my future husband, and all I see standing behind him is the man who ditched me for a job. I tried explaining this to my fiance, but he refused to change his mind, other than having no wedding party at all, and that this is not an option. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot, and I'm afraid for you that you don't know it. You would be an idiot in any event, especially since your fiance's relationship with your ex predated your relationship with the latter. Get over yourself. Your ex is clearly over you. You are the idiot. I think your ex is a saint for being cool enough even to want to stand in your wedding. Your sitch violates bro code and ex code, and ironically, it's you who has the problem with the ex being in the wedding. Your ex has every reason to be bitter himself, but has gotten over it. I mean, from his standpoint, he had a girlfriend who didn't care enough about the relationship to follow it, then blocked him, then shacked up with his best friend. It makes no sense that you would care this much, unless you only hooked up with the fiance to make the ex angry and he didn't take the bait. Clearly, you aren't over your ex. I, 25 female, was recently proposed to by my fiance, 26 male. We'll be paying for the wedding ourselves, since it will be rather small and we're decently well off. Since we're paying for everything, we've been making most of the decisions, and one of my decisions was to rent the dress. I don't see the point in paying thousands of dollars for one dress I can never wear again. My fiance agreed with me. Unfortunately, the moment I announced that I was engaged, all anybody cared about was the dress. Since it was all they wanted to talk about, it eventually came up that I didn't plan on buying the dress and instead planned on renting it. Well, they were livid. Almost everyone present pulled me aside and lectured me about how that dress would contain so many cherished memories, how everyone in the family still owned their wedding clothes, etc. I suppose they had a point. Every other married woman in the family still has her dress, and several of my cousins have gotten married in their grandmother's or even great-grandmother's dresses. But considering my fiance and I don't want children, and therefore won't have grandchildren, that's not an issue for us. I told my relatives that I didn't see the point in spending loads of money on something that would do nothing but gather dust in my closet, and they made the same points over and over. Eventually I snapped that if they wanted the dress so badly, they could pay for it. Everyone went silent, and nobody said another word about it for the rest of the night. The next day, I told my best friend what had happened, and she awkwardly said that she agreed with my family and that a wedding dress is too important to just rent. I hastily changed the subject. So, am I the idiot? Yes, you need a brand new dress that costs $10,000, but oh, we aren't chipping in. Come on, no. Men typically rent tuxes. What is the difference? I think renting a wedding dress is economical, environmentally friendly, and honestly, other countries do this. I'm in the US and have friends who immigrated here and have since gotten married, rent their dresses, and this is totally normal in their cultures. Not the idiot. Not even a little bit. Not the idiot. This actually made me laugh, though I don't mean to be rude. People get so invested in their own traditions that it can be incomprehensible to them that others might not want to follow in their footsteps. Sometimes they even feel personally attacked if someone decides to do something different. My guess is some of the people who bought their dress may actually have felt slightly embarrassed, or that you were trying to shame them by mentioning it would be rented. My sister rented her dress and got a much nicer dress than she could have ever afforded. It was lovely. Myself, I thought I'd want to keep my dress. I still have it 30 years later, unused, sitting in a big box. Both my daughters have completely different style from me, so it's never going to get used. Not the idiot, but get out of the habit of telling people your details. Being vague is the way to go. My wife and I are 68. I retired about 3 years ago, and my wife is/was a nurse who went back to work for a change of pace. So for the first time ever, I'm out of work, and she's working. This has created a bit of an awkward dynamic, since I have zero experience doing chores. We got married and moved in together when we were 18, and before that I lived with my mom. So I legitimately have never had to lift a finger at home till recently. My wife packed my lunch and kissed me goodbye for 47 years. She was a bit shocked to discover I won't be doing the same. She's had to teach me how to cook, since I've had very little experience doing it. None, actually. Now the only thing I can do well is clean, so that's not an issue. But everything else that she used to do, I'm just not capable of doing. She's been less than understanding. I feel that we should maybe split the chores. We recently got into an argument because I haven't been able to, quote, do what she, did for almost 50 years. Which she's right, but like I said, I have no experience with any of this stuff. I didn't even want to retire, since my dad and grandpa worked till the day they died. But she convinced me to, and now I'm stuck here. I'm doing my best. Am I the idiot here? You are the idiot. If you ate a packed lunch for 47 years, plus all the years your mommy packed your lunch, how in the world could you not know how to pack a lunch? My goodness, just ask your wife to put together a list of what she'd like in her lunches and mix and match from that. My in-laws are in their 70s and had a very traditional marriage, but my father-in-law knew how to make dinner. Your wife is upset because she took care of you and your family for 50 years, and you don't have one idea of how to do anything that she did? You never paid attention to what she did. You took her for granted. Start by apologizing. I suspect he wasn't paying attention to anything she was doing for him because he was either in the other room watching television or outside doing something else. He was tinkering in his workshop, pursuing one of his pet projects, in the recliner reading the paper. You know, relaxing. Sigh. This lazy babied man must make his wife realize why she has wasted all these years in this marriage. How can he be so utterly useless that he can't do any chores and expects his poor wife to work all day and come home to split chores? So true. I mean, you're a grown man. You can make a sandwich for a couple of months as you get more comfortable cooking. Choosing not to do anything when she did it for you for decades is just lazy. It's also hilarious that when your wife was a stay-at-home wife, all the work was on her shoulders, and now that you're a stay-at-home husband, you think things should be split. Where was this logic when you were benefiting the most? Was your wife going to be retired from her housework when you retired from your work outside the home? Probably not. For context, we have been married for 3 years, and it was an arranged marriage. We live long distance from each other. I had been in relationships before marriage, including one serious live-in. He knows all of this, while this marriage is his first relationship. He did have trust issues because I had male friends I was close with, but we resolved it after I agreed to not contact any of them anymore since my family got involved and I didn't want to have the spine to argue with any of them. Now on to present day. I am going on vacation with extended family. Husband lives in another country, so he isn't joining us. I have informed him of the itinerary, places we will be staying, timing of flights, etc. He asked for updates regarding travel every day, and I of course agreed since I have no reason to hide anything from him. And to reiterate, I am traveling with my relatively conservative family members. I did mention to him how it will be an entire week with family that I don't necessarily get along with, and I would love to take some time to myself by taking walks in the area we will be in. Before marriage, I used to go on solo hiking trips all the time, and since this will be my first real vacation since I got married, I was looking forward to having a breather in between, and I don't want to spend my entire vacation oscillating between the religious rants of my family and taking care of the kids. I relayed all of my anxieties about the trip to my husband. This morning, I needed my mom's phone to make a call and noticed a message from him that said, "Thank you for informing me of the travel plans. I want to be updated every day of her movements, and I would prefer it if she didn't go anywhere alone." She texted, "I am so proud of you. You love," my name, "so much." There were several other texts from him, basically checking if I really am asleep/busy when I don't answer his call, etc. And each time it seemed like my mother was keeping tabs on me for him. I am seeing red. I tore him a new one via text because I feel so disrespected. My mother and I have a tenuous relationship at best, and my husband knows this. I told my therapist that I feel like his property and utterly disrespected. She said that, quote, "feelings are not facts," and that I should appreciate my husband's intentions behind this. She is of the opinion that he cares too much for me. Honestly, I'm so disgusted by his behavior. I'd rather not be cared for at all, if this is what caring feels like. I did not want to go on this vacation at all, and everyone insisted I join them, including my husband. He paid almost $1,500 for this, and I feel like he essentially bought me. I am regretting my decision to go on this trip, but we wouldn't be able to recoup the money spent on bookings. I informed my family that I won't be joining them, and I'd rather pay my husband back for the losses incurred. My family says I'm being an ungrateful brat, and that husband is asking only out of love and concern. Your therapist should have her license revoked. She's terrible. So is your mother and husband. You need to, for your mental health, get out of this marriage and put distance between you and your family for a while. Not the idiot, but you will be, to yourself if you don't help yourself. Not the idiot. It's nonsense. He isn't asking out of love and concern. It's because you are right. You are his property as far as he's concerned, and he doesn't trust you. Who pays for your therapist? And are you sure they're an actual therapist? Because that response of feelings aren't facts doesn't sound like something that would come out of a therapist's mouth. Save your money, file for divorce, cut ties where needed, and live your own life. My former therapist helped me validate/process my feelings better, but I had to change therapist after my husband complained that she always takes my side. He is happier with my current therapist. I truly believed that, regardless of his insecurities, he came from a place of genuine love and care. I've only had my family to turn to for advice for the past 3 years, since I got rid of all my friends. I don't know what to believe anymore. Get new social media, a divorce lawyer, some divorce papers, a new phone number after the divorce, and a new place to ghost everyone to. Your lovely family sold you to a rich dude and believe that it's love. Pay him back and run like your butt is on fire.